Babe, and it's inspired by my grandmother. I was born in 1920, one of 4 sisters. I was the baby, so everyone called me Babe. Even now, I'm 95. There's still a few people left on this earth that know me as Babe. My sons-in-law call me Babe. It's nice hearing a man's voice call me that in this house. I can still hear Louis calling to me from his chair when I'm in the kitchen. I lay my head down at night, feel the pillow kiss my cheek like he would every night. Good night, Babe. He called me Babe before we even started dating. A lot of my friends called me Babe, as did my family. The only time I was called Althea was when I was in trouble. I was used to Babe. There was something about the way Louis would say my name. He'd say, "Hey, Babe, how you doing?" With a wink and a grin, like he had a secret. And it drew me to him. I'd been in school with Louis Grace since 2nd grade. He'd always been smart as a whip and popular. He loved to laugh and to make his friends laugh. He'd cut up in class, but he was too charming with the teachers to ever get in much trouble. He'd smile and apologize. He had a very sincere smile, and his eyes were gentle with eyelashes that wouldn't quit. So he could smile and bat his eyes, and anything he'd said would melt into the background to be forgotten. But I couldn't forget the way he'd say my name. Babe. One day, I finally asked him, "Louis Grace, why do you wink at me when you say my name?" He grinned, his pale blue eyes were sparkling. "Well, why do they call you Babe anyhow?" "'Cause I'm the youngest in my family, you know that." He smiled wide, chuckling. "Yes, I do, but that's not why I call you Babe." "Well, why do you then?" His eyes softened and he leaned closer. He'd never been that close to my face with his before. And he said, "'Cause I think you're gorgeous, Babe." Then he kissed my cheek and walked off to head home. I guess you could say he made quite an impression. We married and had 5 beautiful kids. Pat, Bill, Pam, Ann, and Mike. We moved a lot. Louis worked with the railroad. He was so good at it that he kept getting promoted. It wasn't easy, especially during World War II. Louis was in the Navy. He was deployed when I had Pat. I remember walking her stroller through the streets of Chicago looking for apartments, sobbing. I wasn't as strong as he was. He was always so dear in his letters, like he knew I needed to be cheered up. If I didn't read the newspapers, I wouldn't have known how much stress and danger he was under every day. He spared me that. He always managed to find peace in difficult situations, at least with me. He was strong. He'd keep living. He'd find a way to keep going, to keep the family going. Every move, every new city, every new house, every hardship. One summer, we had to move out of one house to a house that wasn't ready. We all stayed in one small hotel room for 6 weeks without a kitchen. Ann and Mike were in grade school. We put Hershey bars and Cool Whip in the back of the car to melt so we could make Hershey pie. The kids liked swimming in the hotel pool. Louis would come home every night from a long day at work and rally the troops. He had this joyful spirit. He could always lighten the mood. We faced a lot together. I can hardly remember life without him. I'd known him so long. He taught me how to drive a car. I taught him how to patch his pants. He always got rips in his pants, pop buttons. We taught each other how to love, how to raise a family, how to survive. We sang together. He had the most beautiful voice. He was a tall man, broad, and his voice was so deep and round in his chest. I could feel it in my fingers as I'd play along on our piano. I remember Bill, our oldest son, and his girlfriend Patty were over one afternoon when we were singing, and they started dancing in the living room. Bill was so much like Louis at his age, full of life and joy and light. He was selfless too, like Louis. When he told us he was going to drop out of college, we knew he would be drafted. It was bad over in Vietnam, and any young man not in school was immediately drafted. He was so calm when he found out, and so gentle when he told us. I want to serve our country. God is calling me to Vietnam, and if I die there, it is for his good plan. Bill was 20 when he was drafted, and his faith far surpassed our own. He deployed a few months later with a few of his cousins. He was faithful to write letters, which we'd sit and read with the kids in the living room. Anne was only 5 and Mike was 3, but they'd sit and listen to hear from Bill. They loved him so. We all did. I'll never forget the day the officers came. I was sewing a dress for Pam, who was gone out of friends. Louis was home. It must have been a Saturday. Mike was at the neighbor's, and Anne was in her room, playing. When I heard the knock, I thought it was a neighbor. There were 2 officers. I could see it on their faces. It was in their eyes. Ma'am, is your husband home? When you have children, you never imagine that you would outlive them. They're young, innocent, full of life and energy. But they give you fits and sleepless nights and gray hairs, as you can tell. But they are the most precious treasure. I have been blessed with a long and full life on this earth. Heck, I've almost reached a century. God must want me here for something. So, I take each day as a gift, and I think of Bill. I'd have given 30 years of my life to him if I could. But that wasn't God's plan. So here I am, 95, living in this house I shared with Louis till he passed about 10 years ago.